Peter from Port Arlington sent me a lovely email. He said, Richo, I love pork, but I always have trouble getting a really thick crackling on the top. Well, Peter, I'm going to give you some tips that'll make sure you have perfect crackling every single time, because I'm an expert in this area. Now, what I'm going to start with is pork. If you want to get good crackling, you need to start with good pork. And this is beautiful pork. Now, what I've got here is a pork shoulder. Plenty of meat on the inside, and on the top, I've got a nice layer of fat and the skin. That is what will give me perfect crackling. Here's a tip, Peter. Take your pork out of the fridge, pop it on the bench and let it come up to room temperature. That will help it cook nice and evenly. Here's another tip, and this is probably the most important part to make sure you've got perfect crackling. What I do is pour some olive oil onto the skin. Don't be scared, the more the better. What I want to do is make sure all of that skin is well and truly oiled. That will help the heat to get into the skin and get that crackling forming. You also need plenty of salt. Plenty of salt on the outside here to help dry it out. And here's another tip, Peter. You can take the pork out of the packet and let it sit in the fridge for a day or two before you roast it, and that will help to dry out that skin. The drier the skin, the better the crackling. Now, this has got to go in the oven, and here's the most important thing. That oven needs to be really hot. What I do is turn it to 250 degrees Celsius. I pop the pork in the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. Then I turn the oven down to 165 degrees Celsius. That will cook the pork all the way through so it's nice and moist. And to make sure that pork is not overcooked, I use a digital thermometer. When it gets to 68 degrees on the inside of the pork, I know it's perfectly cooked. There you go, Peter, look at that. The perfect crackling. Let your pork rest. All those juices in there, when you bring it out of the oven, want to squeeze out of it. So if you let it rest, when you carve the pork, all those juices stay in the meat. That's where they belong. Now, I'm just going to take the top off here, and I'm just going to show you how delicious that crackling is, because that's what it's all about. If you listen to this and follow my instructions, you'll be cooking crackling like this every single time. That's what I like to hear. A little bite cut from there. That looks good. Smells good. That is delicious.